Mike Davis is with us. He is founder and president of the Article 3 Project and former chief counsel for nominations to Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well, and thanks for having me on.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm really glad to have you on because there's a lot going on. So let's go through one. This is just last 90 minutes or so when we have found out what the FBI was able to find at Mar-a-Lago. 11 sets of classified documents, 20 total boxes of items, binders of photos, a handwritten note in the executive grant of clemency of Roger Stone, amongst many other things. First of all, the items that we're finding out about all of this, the Wall Street Journal had it, I believe, first, and then Fox News and the Daily Mail, and so on it goes. Was this a leak, or was this information just released by the DOJ?
Well, this was a highly inappropriate leak by Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Biden Justice Department. Attorney General Merrick Garland gets up and does this press conference yesterday, makes this statement for 5 minutes, how the Attorney General and the Justice Department is dotting their I's, crossing their T's. They're going through the regular process. They're following norms, and then they turn right around right after that and leak out information, and then they leak out more information today. So this is inappropriate what they're doing. They even leaked out information about the affidavit to the Wall Street Journal before the affidavit is even provided to President Trump and his attorneys.
What is surprising, too, well, I guess it's not surprising knowing what we know about the Department of Justice and the FBI and their hatred of Donald Trump, but it's a little bizarre to me, and maybe you can help me understand. A lot of people are talking about this timeline, right? So, first of all, they say that there is highly, highly classified information here. The highest classification, apparently, the TSSCI documents. They talk about top secret, sensitive, compartmented information. And Donald Trump, of course, he's saying that he declassified all of this. But if the original subpoena, the grand jury subpoena, came down on June 3rd for these documents, at some point they stopped communicating with Donald Trump, but they wait until Monday to go to the judge, and we're going to get to him in a second, but they wait till Monday to go to the judge, and then another couple of days over weekend to do the actual raid. So what's confusing to me, and maybe you can help me with this, if there was such top secret, highly sensitive information here, why did they wait 2 months to go in for the raid, or at least go to the judge? They took 2 months to go to the judge and then another 2 days before they raided Mar-a-Lago.
Well, that's a very good question, and I think it shows that Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Biden Justice Department have continued to politicize the Justice Department to get Trump. You have to step back and remember many things. President Trump was the president of the United States when he left the White House. Whether people like it or not, he was still the president. He has the inherent constitutional authority under the Commander-in-Chief Clause, separate from his statutory power, to declassify anything he wants in any manner he wants, right? And when he left the White House, if he sent boxes to Mar-a-Lago or had boxes sent to Mar-a-Lago, they're declassified just by his actions. And that's very clear that these statutes, these regulations that people are talking about, the Espionage Act and these other classification statutes and regulations, they apply to everyone else except for the President of the United States. They do not apply to the President of the United States because he is the person who determines whether things are classified or declassified. So it is just completely legally impossible to charge a President of the United States under the Espionage Act or any other statute or regulation for the way he handles classified materials, including declassifying them. And you have to also remember the next thing: all former presidents get a federally funded office, the office of the former president. They get staff, they get security clearances, they get Secret Service protection. They have secure facilities or SCIFs for these classified records. So even if he had classified records, which he did not, because he declassified them by sending them to Mar-a-Lago, but even if he did, they were protected. There's no allegation, there's no information or allegation that any of these materials got into the wrong hands or they were about to get into the wrong hands. And that's very clear. They waited 18 months to go get this stuff. If it was so damaging, if they thought this was so damaging, why did they wait 18 months after Trump left the presidency to go get mementos and letters, maybe handwritten notes with the North Korean dictator. Who knows what's in there? But it's not classified because he declassified it, and it's not secret. And this really comes down to a records dispute, right? Because the president doesn't pack his records and send them when he leaves. He has staff, right? And this is a dispute between the bureaucrats at the National Archives, whether these are presidential records and therefore they go to the National Archives and they're documented and then sent right back to Trump in his library or in his office of the former president, or if these records are personal records that belong to Trump. That's what it comes down to. This is not a crime. This is partisan this is partisanship by Attorney General Merrick Garland and his totally politicized Biden Justice Department to get Trump because they're scared he's going to run for office and he's going to beat them.
Let me ask you, Mike Davis joining us, and founder and president of the Article 3 Project. And Mike, the process of declassification, because here's what I'm wondering. Trump declassifies these documents, right? And so is there a process with which then within the Department of Justice or the apparatus of the government that they have to go through to officially become declassified? Do they have to, Trump doesn't just, wave a wand and says these are declassified and they can put them in a box and ship them to Mar-a-Lago. There's got to be some sort of a process, I would think, to actually declassify the documents. Do you know what the process is?
So first, actually, the president of the United States, any president of the United States can wave a magic wand and declassify any top secret SCI information that he wants. He could do it in any way he wants. He doesn't have to label it. He doesn't have to report it. He doesn't have to do anything. He can make it by a magic wand. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. In 2012, March 2012, President Obama was meeting with the Russian president at the time, our adversary. And President Obama got caught on a hot mic telling the Russian president that he would, quote, have more flexibility to negotiate with Russia after the 2012 presidential election. Again, quote, more flexibility is the quote. That is highly classified information. That gives Russia very good intelligence on where America stands, coming directly out of the president of the United States' mouth. So how can the president do that without violating the Espionage Act? Because he's the president of the United States. He can never violate the Espionage Act for the way he handles classified information like this, including disclosing it, whether it's to our enemy like the Russian president or taking it to Mar-a-Lago like President Trump. There are statutes and regulations that apply to everyone else. And the president can waive those. The president can waive all that because he is the person, as the commander in chief, he is the one who classifies and declassifies. But if you're talking about a former president, the vice president, the chief of staff, the CIA director, everyone else has to follow these statutes and regulations. The president does not. And so when President Trump was leaving the White House, he's still the president. He sent these records out. They're declassified.
All right. Now, my question is, and remember, I'm a layman, so does the timing of the declassification have any relevance here whatsoever?
Meaning, does it matter that Trump didn't wait 3 days, or what is that? I don't understand.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So in other words, okay, so it's his last day in office. Biden is in the process of taking the oath of office. Trump is, moving out or whatever, and that's when he decides to, declassify these documents. I guess, Mike, what I'm trying to say is I'm a layman, and I fully understand what you're saying about the president and declassification. So it's baffling to me that the DOJ seems to be on a completely different level of understanding of all of this. Well, and so, go ahead.
This is what I would say. This is where I think the scandal is. I would be very surprised if the Attorney General Merrick Garland sought a legal opinion from the Office of Legal Counsel in the Department of Justice. The Office of Legal Counsel is the general counsel for the executive branch, and they almost always protect presidential power in situations like this. So did Attorney General Merrick Garland seek an opinion on this issue before he authorized this unprecedented, unnecessary, and unlawful warrant, working with this Trump deranged magistrate judge down in Palm Beach, Florida, or if Merrick Garland did not seek an opinion from the Office of Legal Counsel on something this monumental to the presidency, why not? Why would he not go to the Office of Legal Counsel? They had plenty of time. President Trump had these documents for 18 months. They were secure. Yep. They had Secret Service protection. They're down there with staff with security clearances. President Trump has a security clearance. They have skips. What the hell was the urgency? Other than maybe they're worried that President Trump's going to announce that he's running for president again.
Well, Mike, let me ask you. So, do you think I'm going to go back to the timeline to support my next statement. So, you're talking about a timeline of basically 2 months when they get the grand jury subpoena, then they go to Reinhardt, the judge. So, as you and I both agree, that doesn't really seem like they were in that much of a hurry, especially considering the fact that they ultimately found this, you and I agree, declassified, top secret, sensitive information. That tells me this, that they, on June 3rd, when they got the grand jury subpoena, they really didn't know what they were looking for, which backs up what I have been saying, and I think what you would say too, which is they were going in there just kind of looking for stuff, maybe to, beef up the January 6th committee, or maybe find some sort of a tax thing or something that they could get President Trump on, and then they happen to find this declassified information that they are going to say is top secret.
Well, and remember that the federal government over-classifies everything. So basically, any classified record that the president sees, any record the president sees almost always gets labeled at least secret, oftentimes top secret, and even oftentimes top secret SCI, which is a CIA compartment, or SAP, which is a Department of Defense compartment. So, it's not unusual for a president to have SCI or SAP. It's actually routine for them to have it. And the personal communications with the president that are SCI or SAP that Trump may have down in Mar-a-Lago aren't going to be the launch codes to the nukes. And even if he had the launch codes to the nukes, they're not going to work. And
right.
the current Biden Secretary of Defense would have to validate if Trump somehow broke into the nuclear football, took the launch codes, and the Biden administration didn't catch it for 18 months, and they didn't turn off his old codes, and they didn't put in new codes in the football, and Trump launched the nukes with these codes, the Secretary of Defense for Biden would still have to validate that. So this is just silly what we're hearing about nuclear material down there in Mar-a-Lago.
Well,
remember, these are the same leaks. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was accidentally watching MSNBC this morning, having fun watching all of the hysteria, and it's like they're acting like Trump is, texting Iran the nuclear codes or something. You know what I mean? Or China the nuclear codes. And I'm with you. There's nothing, by the way, that I've seen so far that talks anything about anything nuclear at all. Now, I could go on with you for an hour, but I can't. I want to talk about Judge Bruce Reinhardt. He was out there making, Facebook posts that were negative to Donald Trump. You tweeted about this, and what exactly were these Facebook posts?
So, back in 2017, Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhardt became a magistrate appointed by the other judges in the Southern District of Florida. He went on Facebook and he made this post bashing President Trump personally and his integrity. And I'm trying to pull up the post here, but essentially he was comparing President Trump to a civil rights leader and basically saying President Trump was a bad man, right? And so that shows that Magistrate Judge Reinhardt has at least an actual bias, at least an apparent bias, an apparent conflict of interest under the United States Code and Canon 2 of the Judicial Canon, Canon 2 and Canon 2A of the Judicial Canons, that would require his recusal from any matter related to President Trump.
And you know what?
6 weeks ago, I was going to say, in fact, 6 weeks ago, Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhart did recuse in Trump's lawsuit against Hillary Clinton. So if he thought he had a conflict 6 weeks ago against Trump, what the hell changed over the last 6 weeks to make his bias and conflict go away when he signed this unprecedented, unnecessary, and unlawful search warrant of a former president's home and office?
Well, and the other thing I got to ask, and we'll leave it at this, Mike, but the other thing I got to ask is, of all the magistrates or judges out there, this guy, a 5-minute Google search will tell you that, he's suspicious, to say the least. He's represented, employees for Jeffrey Epstein. There's, of course, the Facebook posts and the rest of it. So, I mean, is there a shortage of judges? I mean, couldn't they find, a judge that clearly did not have such a sketchy past?
Yeah, there are many magistrate judges in the Southern District of Florida. That includes Miami. They could have gotten any of those magistrate judges. This magistrate judge, Bruce Reinhart, should be in hot water under the judicial canons and United States Code for not recusing on this matter. He has a lot of explaining to do when he just recused from President Trump's lawsuit against Hillary Clinton 6 weeks ago. I think that President Trump has a constitutional right to an objective judge, and if we find out that this judge is not objective, if he's biased, which is very clear that he is, this search warrant is unlawful.
All right, so Mike, I don't know if you can answer this in 30 seconds or less, but so now that this information has been leaked and the rest of it, where, again, in 30 seconds or less, where does this go from here?
This would go where President Trump's attorneys should file motions to quash the subpoena. They need to get moving on this. They need to get out ahead of this. It looks like Attorney General Merrick Garland, who is a rabid partisan, which is surprising because no one would thought that before he became the Attorney General. It looks like they're going to indict President Trump, and that is just a red line that this country. I think it will lead to a significant damage to our democracy if they do this.
All right, Mike. Thank you very much. Great conversation.